If you've ever been through a breakup, then you already know this. Breakups suck. They're painful. They hurt. Nobody likes them. Nobody wants to do it. People try to avoid it as much as possible. And I get it. I mean, if you think about it, our culture doesn't like tell us or teach us how to go through breakups in a healthy way. Like try to find a movie or a song or anything that like describes a healthy way to actually get through a breakup. Like a way that where you get through the breakup and you're actually a stronger, better version of yourself afterwards. No, not it make you think that you're going to be, but you're actually a stronger and better version of yourself. See, there's a way to do it, but the question is how. And so in this part 3 of my series on breakups, that's exactly what I'm going to talk about. Welcome back to Relationships Ain't Easy. We're talking about breakups. This is actually part 3. I can count. This is part 3 of our series on how to break up in a healthy way, right? So we've talked about how breakups are very common. Most likely you're going to have to go through a breakup as you're trying to find your husband, as you're trying to find your wife. It's going to happen. So you need to know how to handle it because there's a good way, there's a bad way, there's a wrong way, there's a right way. Okay. So I want to quickly kind of go over what we did in the past. So we've gone over so far grief, like how to handle grief, the grief process. Obviously, we talked about a process and how there is a good way and there is a wrong way. And then last time we talked about like the emotional aspect of it, like how to emotionally get back to, being yourself, being how you were before you met that person. And of course, that's assuming that you were in a good mood, not a good mood, but you were in a good headspace, in a good emotional space. All right. Straighten myself up a little there. Okay. So today we're going to talk about how you can actually go from, that pain and that suffering and how you can actually, at the end of this process, at the end of this breakup process, be closer to where you want to be. How can you be a better version of yourself, a better person, stronger, and all that, right? Because the ultimate goal really when getting through this breakup is to learn from it, is to be a better person. Like you want to be closer to what you actually want. Like you want to come through it knowing that, hey, like here's some things I learned. And now after I've completed this process, I have more confidence, going back into the game and trying to find my husband or wife, or, I feel like I'm better prepared. I've learned something. I mean, that's the overall goal. And I want to emphasize it's not to try to get the person back. And I just have to say this real quick because I know that feeling, and I know there's a lot of people out there that go through these breakups, and so they want to know, how can I get that person back? And this is not that video. You may get that person back. There's a slim chance, but you know what? If you go through this process and you grow, you might actually realize that you don't need that person, meaning they're not actually good for you. So this is not a how do I get them back video, but this is a how do I continue on my journey of finding a husband or wife, and how do I come out of this even better and therefore closer to finding them. Does that make sense? Okay. I know I'm going to help somebody with that. So let's jump into it. So how do we get better? So this process I'm going to call, it's kind of a 2-part, but this part of the process I'm going to call reflect and grow. Reflect and grow. So a lot of times when we go through breakups, and I've been guilty of it too, it's easy for us to blame the other person. It's easier for us to see the other person's flaws, all right? Some of us are different. Some of us just see what's wrong with us, but I think the majority, or maybe it was just me. I saw all the other person's flaws at first before I went through the process. But let's talk about reflecting. So you really need to finish the other part, the emotional part, because if you can't do this reflection, like, because you're going to have to think about, the type of things they used to tell you, maybe got on the nerves or areas you needed to grow in. You're going to have to think of some of the things that maybe they did that you didn't like or that may have hurt you or things like that. So you need to make sure that you're in a healthy enough, emotional state that you can go through those things without it ruining your whole day. Like if thinking these things are going to make you just cry, you're going to stop and you're going to, we talked about this in the last video, which by the way, I'll put it in the description, the last two videos. But the last video we talked about how, you're feeling all the emotions. So if thinking about this is going to make you go back to, shutting yourself in your room or in the house or whatever, then you're not ready yet. So, continue on that emotional healing. And then when you're ready, I'd say you should probably at least be 70, 75% emotionally healed. So basically where you can think about this stuff, it's not going to wreck you or, derail your whole day. So you're going to reflect on what you could be doing better or what you could have done better. All right. You're going to reflect on what you did well. You're going to reflect on what they did well and reflect on what they could have done better. It's because you want a whole picture. And I will also say this is a good time, and I've said this many times on my podcast. In this journey, you need to have 1, 2, maybe 3 max people who you can really trust. They care about you, they love you, they want to see you succeed. They're not afraid of telling you things that are hard to hear. They're not afraid of telling you when you mess up, but they do it in a way, and this is how you know that they mean well. If they tell you, but then they're also willing to have the patience to walk you through and help you. So it's like, if I'm going to use sports, if someone, you want to be a quarterback, if someone points out the flaws in how you throw the ball, they should also be willing to help you and teach you how to do it right. You don't learn how to throw a football, the first time you get it. So especially if you've been doing it wrong for a lot of times, you got to unlearn a lot of bad habits. So for someone to sit there, take the time and help you, practice with you, that's how you know they care. Okay. So you want someone who can do that. So let's get back to reflecting. So you want to know what you did wrong, what you did right, what they did wrong, what they did right. Okay. You need to really evaluate yourself so you can see the areas that you're weak in, the areas that you're strong in. What are the things that they did that you liked? What are the things they did that actually made you feel like you were loved? But what are the things that pushed you away or hurt you? Like, you need to know all this stuff because you're going to take this. And again, you're going to talk to this 1, 2, or 3 friends, get some feedback, but you need to know, okay, so now this is what I liked in the person that I broke up with. And, what are some of the signs you saw earlier? Because you want to be able to pick up on these things earlier and quicker as you start dating again. What are some of the things that they did that hurt? So you want to try to think back and say, okay, what are some of the things that they did that maybe when it first happened, I kind of blew it off a little bit. Like when they seem to keep getting mad at the waiter every time we went to the restaurant. And then later on, if it was full blown, you realize that they had an anger issue and they were blowing up on you. So you want to know those things because now you can avoid them. Because remember, the whole thing is to get better. So part of getting closer to finding who you want to marry is also figuring out who you don't want to marry. So you can avoid them and you can stay away from them and be like, okay, no, this person's not for me. I see this red flag. I saw that before. He's blowing up on the waiter for no reason. There's no more excuses. I know this is an issue. So depending on how you feel, how angry the person is, you may want to talk to them. But you do know that that's a red flag and you need to be very careful. Okay. So that's what you do when you reflect on the other person. But now you also reflect on yourself. What are the things that I did that seemed to make them feel low? What were the things I did well? You probably want to keep doing those things and get better, or at the very least realize why it was. So a whole nother podcast would be, you've probably heard of the five love languages. Five love languages. So if you know that, then you know that maybe you just happen to be speaking a love language. But whatever it was, you need to know why so you can repeat it. So you can make this next person, your future husband, your future wife, feel just as loved as, they did. But you also need to realize what you did wrong. Like, what are the things that they complained about? Did they complain about you always being late? Did they complain about you not listening, not making time for them, et cetera, et cetera? Like, you need to, especially if they kept repeating it over and over again, it's probably something that you need to look at and then start working on. And again, you want to get feedback. So ask these people who you trust, who would tell you the truth if you were messing up and you were in the wrong, and they're going to help you. And again, there's all kind of help and resources that you can, how to get over anger issues, how to get over being late, whatever, how to learn how to, buy people gifts, or whatever it was that they complained about that you didn't do, or you were doing, find ways to grow in that area. And that brings me to the grow. You have to reflect so that you can figure out what areas you need to grow in. So for me, unfortunately, I realized after one of my breakups that I had a lot of places that I needed to grow in. So, but I think I'm going to give you this example so you can kind of understand what you need to do. For me, I realized one of the biggest issues was I placed too much, or put too much, what's a better way of saying it? I prioritized them too much. It should have been God. It should have been, the mission that God has for me, working on myself and in them. Because, we were just dating, they were my girlfriend. And instead, I put them over everything. So anytime you put something out of order, or you take things out of priority, you're going to have issues, especially if you put it before God. So that was my issue. And so there was a lot of things in that. So a lot of things were suffering. Other relationships, my relationship with God, relationship with family members, the mission that I was supposed to be on, building skills. So that one thing of just getting my priorities, not having my priorities set, or placing them too high on the priority list, that then I walked it backwards and said, okay, well, where should they be? I figured that out. And I said, okay, well, now these other things, I need to prioritize them and make up for the lost time that I missed. So reflect and grow. This process is not going to be easy, okay? It's not going to be quick. Anytime you have to improve on yourself, it takes time. You're going to have to build better habits, different habits. You're going to have to unlearn things. So just understand, this is why I say, especially if you were with this person for, I would say 7 to 8 months plus, it's going to take time. If you're going to do it right, it's going to take time, but it's going to save you so much time in the future because, like I said, you're going to be able to spot better the things you like and don't like in a potential husband or wife, right? So then when you're on these dates and you see these red flags, you don't have to keep dating this person another 7 or 8 times. You don't have to go on another 7 or 8 dates before you realize, oh, this was a bad mistake. You can just go on 1 or 2 and then be like, okay, this is wrong. And then you're on to the next one. So that's quicker. And then you're also going to have more green flags. You're going to have less red flags. So when you do meet that person who meets these standards, you're also going to be the type of person that they want. So even though the process took longer, once you're ready, you're not going to be repeating mistakes over and over again for the next years or whatever. Okay. So when you're growing, what you need is to set goals, make plans, and execute them. That's what I had to do. I had to set goals, make plans, and execute them. So again, talk to these people who are close with you, have them help you figure out where you need to grow. You know, you want to get their feedback on, especially the other person. Maybe there was things you missed about them that could have been red flags early on, but you want to reflect and grow. And that'll help you get to where you want to go. Okay? So I think that's going to be it for the how to break up the healthy way. You know, I usually do these videos and then I kind of go over and think about, is there anything else I could add to it? And I think that's it. Now, if you have any more questions, please let me know in the comments. If you have a really in-depth question that you think it's going to take some time, on Instagram is the best way. Just DM me at relationships ain't easy. There's no apostrophe in that. Okay. And if this has helped you, go ahead, like it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe. That really helps me. All right. And if there's someone that you know who needs to hear this, if they're going through a breakup, you know, I would just encourage you to send this to them and help them out. Again, if you have questions or you want to hear me talk about a subject that I haven't talked about, or you want me to go more in depth, or even if you disagree with me, let me know. But if you do want me to talk about something, the best way is to DM me, let me know. And then if it sounds good, or if it's, you know, something I can use, I'll shout you out and I'll make an episode on it. So again, I want to thank you for listening in, and I'll see you next time.